All right, boys. No intro today. The official topic. What's the difference between being a normal person like APGAINS and being someone with a giga giganto penis like Van Seal? He's in the gauntlet now with all the powerful cool people. And it's actually really interesting because this channel very much focuses on what the average player's day-to-day operations, farming, all that stuff should look like. And you guys, I'm sure, have learned a bunch. But there's another world, Van Seal. Is there not another world to be explored?
It's
Tell us
a
about it.
whole new world, and
Oh no.
not to quote Aladdin or anything, but or Jasmine, whoever says it. Yeah, no, so like I've recently moved into the Gauntlet, and that's something I kind of want to bring awareness to, and just kind of encourage players that like getting to this level is not impossible, and try to like motivate people to get there because I care about the Gauntlet. I think it's an amazing hidden gem in this game. And it gives you a totally different perspective on everything because there's a lot of things that people don't know about the Gauntlet that are actually kind of cool, and I feel like I have this privilege that other players don't get because the one thing that that was a big shocker to me was a lot when people hear about the Gauntlet or people that first of all people that don't know what the Gauntlet is. It's just a term that people made up. It's comprised of the top 20 guilds
Oh, it's
in
20.
the
I thought it
game.
was way less than that.
It's 20. I think it's 20. Definitely 15. It probably is 20. Anyways, the top 20 guilds or something like that. And you and the top 20 guilds get stuck in a rotation fighting each other in TW. And it is a set rotation. It is a set pattern, which is really interesting because then all of a sudden we as a group have a territory war schedule, which means we know when we're going to fight, who we're going to fight, on exactly what day we're going to fight. Which I think gives a really cool dynamic to territory wars because now you can plan weeks and months in advance against your rival guild. Um, and there's just so many nuances. There's so many like just it's on a whole nother level, and it sucks that it's only the top 20 guilds because I feel like if most guilds knew who they were going to fight in 3 4 weeks, they would plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
They would prepare,
Let me
but
jump
you
in here real
don't.
quick. I think I speak for most people that Territory Wars is not exciting for the average player because there's no real stakes. It's kind of just something you do. It's very unorganized, and you'll talk about this in just a second about the
Yeah,
differences and just how organized a gauntlet TW will be versus like a normal person's TW. Like for us, it's and for you until you join this guild, like you go in and nothing really matters. You do some battles. Maybe you have like special counters that you use now
yeah,
instead of during your GAC stream, and you just kind of do it because you have to, and no one enjoys it. But what
yeah. No, and there's a
specifically, what specifically makes it super exciting? Yes, the planning, and you can get a little bit more strategic. But what else? Because there's other stuff that's making it like
I
important and
mean it
memorable for you.
just the it feels like you're playing at a major league level of a sport because you might go up against your rival guild. Okay.
Yeah, fuck
And
those guys.
if you beat them, there is so much shit talking, and it's the greatest thing. The shit talking is great, just like in any sport. And the thing is you're not going to play them for like 2 months. So you have 2 months to get ready for the rematch, which is just like this epic build up. It's so awesome. The thing is, the planning, like when you're planning stuff in territory wars, you're not just planning like just like okay, here's our defense, our offense. Like you plan for every individual war. There's sometimes, and I'm not going to go over any counters because I don't want to get kicked out of my guild or anything. But there's times, and every guild does this. You only come up with one counter for one war, believe it or not. Like we're going to come up and perfect this, and we're only going to use it once. We're never touching it again. It's
I can't,
wild.
I can't I can't even begin to like. I've never remodded a character in my entire life,
Oh
like
yeah,
ever. Like not
yeah,
for a TB, not for a TW, not for an event. Like I bash my head against events until I figure it out
yeah.
with the like terrible, shitty, like 6 health mods that I have on like my entire roster. That's the kind of person that I am. Um, but
Yeah, no, the remodding is probably the worst part because some of the modding expectations, I'm not joking, like me and some of my guildmates have literally taken characters to R9 just to hit the numbers that are being asked for. It's
that's
crazy. Like I'm
What's
like, this is not a character I would
that's
not take the R9, but I'm gonna do it because
I don't
I need
think
to
that's
hit
the
these
craziest thing.
thresholds.
What we were streaming earlier, and you were explaining to me a concept
Oh,
about bots that you use, and specifically
yeah.
how, like, I,
So in the middle of the war, like for example, like there's so many mind games and it's so in the middle. If we're in a war, there's guilds that have bots in Discord set up. You know how like you can track when when people climb an arena or if they
yeah,
hit you or let's say like, oh, I just got knocked out of my fleet payout or my shard. Like we use those bots for our opponents because if there's a wall that they open up and they haven't touched it yet because they're trying to figure it out, a lot of times people go to arena and they'll message their guild mates or shard mates and say like, "Hey, we need to test this right now for TW. We need to test to see if this works because something's different. We can't figure it out." And we will literally get that information saying like, "Oh, our opponents are testing this in their arena right now."
dude, that's so fun. I like.
It's great. It's
I
great.
don't change my. I don't even change my defense. Like, I
Yeah,
I I wouldn't even go so far as to put a bot like there. I can't remember which is it. C3. It's not C3PO. One of the bots that tells you like your opponent
yeah,
when your
it's
opponents
something like
attack
that.
you
Yeah,
in
yeah,
GAC. Like I don't even use
yeah.
that. I don't scout my opponents. I place my fleets on defense, no characters every week, and I just ride or die with the plan without doing any extra effort. I can't
Yeah.
imagine like sitting up and getting an alert on my phone like, oh, Van Seal just did an arena battle. Is he doing his daily arena climb for some reason, or is he
No, no,
testing out a
you
counter?
can tell because they go in over and over and
And they do.
over.
They go like
And
5, 10 times in a row.
well, also because like everybody kind of knows everybody.
Yeah.
It's a very small community what the Gauntlet is. So we know who the testers are in those guilds. We know who the officers are. So it's like we're not going to look at 50 people. It's like we only need to look at like maybe 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And it's typically when like a wall opens up and they don't touch it. We're like, yeah, they are. We can tell they are thinking right now. They're not. It's not that they're asleep. They are thinking.
I can't imagine.
So
Oh my god.
and
Like
then the cool thing is when we see them beating it with the banners, we can usually tell or guess what they use based on the banners, or if there's a fail, like over the health and percentage thresholds, we can kind of figure out, you know, what they did. Because the other thing too is like there's a lot of backstabbing in the gauntlet sometimes too. So let's say my guild's gonna fight a guild this week,
mm-hmm.
and we can ask their previous opponents, hey, what was their board? You give us their board, we'll give you one of ours from, the person you're fighting. So
Oh my god, dude.
there's a lot of that, and
That's
there's just a
Spygate.
lot. Dude, the Spy Gate is great. It's so much fun. The drama is amazing. But I think what makes it so great is because we have all these extra information and tools that we can use,
Mm-hmm.
and it's consistent. That like I wish territories was like this for everybody. If everyone had like a schedule where like you knew exactly who you're fighting, you can plan everything out. You have more information. That's the biggest thing. And I didn't know that about the gauntlet. I thought it was just like the top ones just fighting each other back to back to back. It's like no, there's an actual schedule. There's a rotation, and we're constantly prepping. Like I mean, always prepping. Even during TB, during conquest, like we're always prepping, and um, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's re-energized my love and appreciation for the game for
Because
sure.
I never understood for the longest time, like for with like Loki, for example. Like Loki like stopped caring about GAC and he was like big into TW for a while. And
Yep.
I was just so confused as to why. It made no sense to me. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And
I'm the same way now.
I never quite understood the appeal, but now that like you're explaining it to me, it seems like I mean that actually does legitimately sound fun, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah. No, it is. And the thing is, like, I think when you're at that level, you just become a much better player just passively
mhm.
because you're learning different strategies and different things. Now, of course, every guild has banned counters. So, for example, it's like we have this counter for TW. You cannot use it in GAC, otherwise you get booted. Like you cannot. That's just a golden rule
So it
across the
doesn't show
board.
up on like .gg or something.
Correct. So it doesn't show up on .gg, and then like other people like, oh, that's what they're using. That's what they used to beat us last time. You know what I mean? Like that. We don't want that information getting out.
Mhm.
Usually those only last for not that long because one, it's probably Datacron reliant, and those will just go away. Two, if it gets leaked or if we see other people using it in GAC, then it's just like, well, it's already out in the wild. It doesn't matter. So like for a recent example would be the Scythe and Chimera versus Leviathan.
Leviathan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we were like, you can't use that anywhere. But all of a sudden, thousands of people are using it in GAC because someone else figured it out. It's like, okay, well now it's out in the wild, it's fair game,
Do you
but it's
think
still
that
not
was someone
consistent.
naturally figuring it out, or do you think that was
Yes, yes, I do think that was something naturally figuring out because a lot of the counters that we keep close to the chest, um, most of the time, and I'm not giving anything away, but most of the time it's just swapping out one character or changing the mod set on one character entirely. Like we're like, okay, this character is typically modded like this. We're modding them way different because it's gonna do X, Y, and Z. Typically, you do that because you know what they're going to counter. You know what they're going to throw at it, and you want to stop that counter or force them to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Most wars in the Gauntlet, I would say, are decided by one zone. Most zones, like everyone full clears.
Is it that close? Well, I get full clearing because you have access to like every single character in the fucking game. That
it gets pretty close sometimes, and I mean, like I'm talking like within 100 banners, or sometimes less.
Mm-hmm.
I've even been in wars where we don't win until there's 3 minutes left on the clock.
Like, I mean, since I am the greatest territory war player of all time, I think that's well documented. I don't think there's a single whale or gauntlet player that would refute that, obviously. But I mean, we've won by one before, so I'm not saying that you're
okay.
a coward.
I haven't seen that.
I'm not saying you're a coward, but we're nice with it. And by nice with it, I mean the 49 other people in my guild are nice with it, and then when I decide to show up, I'm also not terrible.
Yeah. Most of the time, a war is usually decided by one territory, one zone, because it's whoever bleeds the most.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it comes down to. Like, it's
do you
whoever
think they're
bleeds
gonna
the
change
most.
the board? I know that like not the gauntlet, the Gambit Alliance and all those people have been speculating for. I don't know if it's speculating. Fatal.
Are you talking about for TW or GAC?
For TW, because Fatal
I've
specifically has been talking about that. Or no, not Fatal. Soulbase has been talking a long time about that being like a known thing that's going to happen.
I've heard rumors about a TW like change, but nothing concrete. I'd be okay with a TW change, but like I just hope they don't destroy what the Gauntlet is. Like, you know what I mean? I hope they don't destroy like this style of gameplay, because it really is like the best gameplay you can get in the game, in my opinion.
I would say, like, say what you will about like the pack that came out today for $10, where there's
I think
thousands,
it's great.
It's thousands of people
I think
spending.
it's great.
But
yeah.
I like the Gauntlet is where most of the money is spent in like a concentrated area. And I know for a fact that CG is in very close communication with a lot of really, really big whales.
Dude,
I can't imagine they would do something.
There's a guy in my alliance, that spent like $1,000 on like Datacron rerolls like in one night.
Dude, I know
on just rerolls.
I know guys who are spending $50K a month on the game. Like it's
you can go crazy. Wild. But no, I think the one thing I would like to see rework for TW is probably the rewards. Mm-hmm. I think if they did something closer to the raid, where they give you currency and you can buy
stuff with it,
whatever, buy what you need for your roster. Yeah. It's not the same thing over and over. I think that would be a good change. In terms of changing the board, I think the board is fine where it's at. I mean, granted, if they just increase the board size, I'm like, that's cool. That's fine with me.
That'd be huge. I feel like that'd be a huge time commitment though, because like even GAC, like I have great fleets, and even I am like, man, if they increase the board size for fleets to 4, I would be like, oh, do I really want to do 4?
You have to remember, like, TW's only 2 fleets still.
That's a good point.
TW's still only 2 fleets, and we have a lot of ships, and now Mace is, I haven't tested Mace yet, but Mace maybe Mace will do things.
Apparently, he beats Executor, dude. Have you seen that?
I was reading his kit, and I was like, it looks like he does. I'm like, everything's beating Executor right now, so I really hope they release another bounty hunter ship to change things up a little bit, like spice things up for the Executor. But I'd be okay with the TW change. I mean,
Let's end with for the last 2 minutes. Let's end with the most classic TW/GAC talking point of the last 8 years. I know they haven't been out for 8 years. Don't worry.
Almost,
giving
almost.
giving guilds agency over what their board looks like, not in the sense of what teams you place, but allowing there to be 3 or 4 preset zone maps. This is something people always talk about. Is this something that anyone would ever
I
want to
don't.
see, or is this just
I I I
normal
don't
people
think it would work.
speculating?
I don't think it would work because if you give people the option,
They're gonna
eventually
find
there's
the
gonna
best one.
and they're just gonna stick with that.
I mean, there
Now,
could
now
constantly be stuff coming out.
remember back when GAC first started, CG would change the board
Yeah.
sometimes. I'd be okay with them changing the board TW. I don't know how much you can change it other than just
Maybe not
rearranging
letting you
things.
pick, but like let's say that it's like 3v3 versus 5v5 where they would, I mean, let's be honest, CG would very much ask people in the gauntlet what they would want to see if they were ever to make a change like that. It wouldn't just come out of fucking left field, you know
Oh,
what I mean?
probably. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
there would
No,
be sign
absolutely.
off from people, and I don't know the downstream effects for the rest of the community, but since this is specifically talking about the upper echelons, like if occasionally the board was different, would people care at all? Would you guys like that, hate that? Like what would be the thinking there?
I think it would definitely stir some chaos for sure because um like the way most boards are set, it's like we want you to do this, 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 this. That way when you get to here,
You can
you don't know
set
what to do.
yourself up to do, yeah.
Yeah, and then you bleed a bunch, and then we win because you bled. Um, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I think they'd have to be really careful with the way they change the board because um, you might have some well, not unfinished boards, but like boards you can't full clear because of the way it's structured. I think the way it's structured now is fine.
Yeah. Well, that's not
You also
necessarily a terrible thing because like GACs where you can't full clear are not. I mean, like you just have to do a different calculus in the GAC. Like maybe you don't get to use
well,
all your teams, which
GC
is
is different because GC you only have to open up one zone and then you have all the information you need.
yeah,
Because ships is a separate thing.
yeah,
Ships is
yeah,
separate.
yeah.
In TW,
There's
you
like
don't
9
have you have
zones or something like that, right?
there's
More than
eight
that.
there's eight there's 8 zones and you're very limited with your information. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we open up this one, we see this, but then you're like, well, I want to open up this wall before we make our decision for this wall. And it's like, so the information kind of trickles in.
I think
So I think
that's kind of what I was getting at for the changing the
yeah,
swords because like I feel like very much more in TW than GAC. Like knowing where stuff is and having like the information is one of the bigger interest points.
absolutely.
And I think maybe just a way to shake that. But like the thing that I'm most concerned about is like I think TW needs a change to help the rest of the other not top 20 guilds because no one cares
Yes.
about it. And I don't
Yeah,
know
no,
how
and
CG does that.
so unfortunately, like, and I know you want to wrap this video, but like, I'm on my channel. I'm probably going to start a series talking about this. But I think the biggest enemy and the biggest problem for TW out of the gauntlet is sandbagging. I think sandbagging doesn't benefit anybody. I think it hurts the game of. I think it hurts the game mode more than anything else like out there. I think sandbagging literally
In
destroys
30
territory
seconds, how do
wars.
you sandbag? Explain it to people.
You don't sign up with all your players.
And what
You don't
advantage
sign up
does
with all
that
your
give you?
because you may be a guild of 40 players that have every GL, and
Mm-hmm.
guess what? You're going to be getting matched up with a guild that may have 50 players signed up, but because your rosters have more depth, you have more ammo,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just out efficient them. Kind of like almost similar to when you used to only set ships.
What do
Kind
you
of
mean
like
used to?
that.
I still do.
Okay, well, sorry, you still do.
I do it
But
out of I don't have enough time to play GAC,
but
so I just want to grind through it
people
really
that
quickly. But yeah.
sandbag, a lot of people sandbag towards the top. I don't want to say Kyber 2 because there is no Kyber 1 and Kyber 2 in the Gauntlet, but I say Kyber 2 because it's like
Yeah.
Gauntlet's Kyber 1 for me. But the people that are in like the Kyber 2 of TW, they sandbag a lot because they don't want to enter the Gauntlet. Like once you pass a certain GP threshold, you are in there.
And you
And
have
like
to
they
try
know,
harder.
yes, and they don't want that. They want to sign up with 3 less people, 5 less people, even 10 less people, and they get an easy win every single time. And I don't think that's the right way to play the game mode because what that does is your guild is not getting better as a guild as a whole.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna have to start even having less members join because everyone's GP is constantly going up in the game.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the guilds that don't sandbag have no chance at winning. And they just feel like the game mode is pointless. They don't want to play it because they're like, we always get sandbag. We always fight guilds that are, you always hear about that in GAC about the unfair matchups. Same thing in TW, except in TW, the player has the control over the unfair matchup.
Yeah.
which why I think is just it's the most harmful thing to the mode, and I don't support any guilds that do it at all. It's just not good for anybody.
Yeah, you're pussies. What's the guild we don't
No,
like? What's the name of
no,
them?
they are.
I don't remember the guild we don't like.
There's no guilds that we don't like. I mean, there's a couple
We
I don't
love
like.
all the guilds. They're great people. It's just so fun to have them in the gauntlet where we get to do all the fun stuff and just so much respect. All right, thanks, Bill Belichick.
Yeah, there you go.
We're on to Cincinnati. All right, can we? It's 90 degrees, so I need to
It is
go
warm.
get some more water really quickly.
It's
So
warm.
can you wave to the? I know you can't see me right now because it's Discord, but
I can see you. I can see you.
Oh, he's in my closet, guys. He's in my closet. All right, bye bye, Vencio. Bye bye.
Yeah.